Hey everyone, welcome to this Lunar Eclipse Sidereal Astrology forecast for the Lunar Eclipse on Friday, May 5th, 2023. Alright, so we have the Lunar Eclipse here, the halfway point of the eclipse month. We had that solar eclipse 2 weeks ago, which was a total solar eclipse. This one will be a very partial lunar eclipse, but still very important, being again a part of this eclipse season here. So we are using true sidereal astrology, which is very different from mainstream astrology. You will notice a lot of the signs are different. So if you are new to this, definitely check out the link down below for more information on that. But we do have the lunar eclipse here in Libra. And so Libra is all about bringing more balance into our life, Libra the scales. And this is to really balance out a lot of the fiery energy that we've had lately with the sun and Mercury in fiery Aries, again, sidereally speaking. So there's been a great time to be focused more on the fiery elements of life, to focus more on being proactive, taking initiative, cultivating our needs, expressing ourselves, things like this. But now is a good time to do a bit of a status check with how we can further that fiery energy, but balance it out with a bit of balance, but also reciprocity in our relationships, a bit of maybe give and take, harmony, coming to mutual agreement, and just all in our life to see if there is anything that has been out of balance that we can bring back into that balance with the scales. And this is particularly emphasized because the lunar eclipse will be forming quite a few oppositions, obviously an opposition with the sun being a full moon, but also opposite Mercury retrograde, also opposite Uranus as well. But nicely trining up to Mars. And so there is a bit of that support with the fiery side of things. All right, so let's go and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here's the chart for the lunar eclipse. So the exact time of the lunar eclipse will be around 1300 Eastern time of the Americas. If you want to make that calculation for wherever you are in the world, but for all intents and purposes, it will be the days surrounding Friday here. And as you can see here, we are using the actual size of the constellations. So if you're expecting me to say that the full moon or lunar eclipse in this case was in Scorpio, definitely check out the link down below for more information. Again, we are using the visible sky on this channel called True Sidereal Astrology, and it is very different from mainstream astrology. All right, so here is the chart for the lunar eclipse here around the Friday time period. You can see the moon during the eclipse will be just barely in Libra, so there is certainly some Virgo energy involved here, which we'll talk about, especially because the south node making it the eclipse is also here in Virgo. But fundamentally, most importantly, and most generally, lunar eclipse, just like full moons, are a great time to do a status check. And particularly for the past couple weeks, right? Because a couple weeks ago, we started this eclipse month. And so there's been some new directions perhaps we've been taking in our life. Good to, again, implement a bit more proactivity, initiative, and we're certainly getting things moving here as we approach the lunar eclipse. Now, Mercury is retrograde, which I'll get to in just a moment. So there's still a lot being reworked. I really do need to preface that when I say that there's been new beginnings, because Mercury retrograde is all about trying new things and experimenting. But nonetheless, in terms of energy and forward movement, we are certainly coming to the heightened part of this for the month here around Friday. And then around Friday, with that heightened part of the lunar month, we do tend to get some new perspectives on things. And it's those perspectives that then lead to a shift and pivot along the life journey. And the lunar eclipse being, again, related to this, in this case, to the south node, is perhaps releasing or clearing some things that are just no longer serving us. So the lunar eclipse will illuminate a lot of the south node energy. South node is past life energy. It's things from our past in general. It's oftentimes the concerns we have and things holding us back. And so through this illumination, we can get more, not so much mental, practical understanding, because it is still the south node and it's still very unconscious, but we can get more spiritual illumination, more attunement, more of a connection, more in a sense of a kind of broader awareness of what can be released and cleared. And so with this awareness of these patterns perhaps in our life, perhaps things that are holding us back, things we're still attached to. This will help, through this awareness, it'll help facilitate this clearing of this energy, this clearing of the karma, as the Hindus might say when we're talking about the South Node here. So all in all, though, status check, really seeing how the past couple weeks have been going and perhaps making some shifts and pivots along the life journey to, again, move things forward. And really not just for the lunar month, but really also for the solar year, which is really the case for all full moons, but especially, again, eclipse ones, because the nodes being very much a yearly energy, they're in a sign for on average a year and a half. And, we have 2 eclipse seasons every year. It really pulls on that yearly shift. And so it is really the time of the year, I would say, in the first eclipses we've had here in 2023, to perhaps make some of these shifts and changes along our life path, along our life journey. And I would say in the context of anything that has shifted in your life since about 6 months ago. 6 months ago, we had the last eclipses. And now nice steps in the right direction to further energy forward. All right, but with Libra, it's a status check with the side of ourself that does want balance and does want to strive towards doing the right thing and to do what is fair, right, just, mutual. Whereas the constellation, it's all about bringing things back into balance, both personally in our life, but also interpersonally through how we're relating with others and our agreements and relationships and such. So likely be playing a strong role because, again, there's been so much energy in Aries, which is about cultivating more of our needs and, again, more of that proactive and initiating side, right, which is much more self-oriented in this sense. And so Libra balances that out by shifting the focus a little bit more to how that's influencing our outer environment. How is that proactivity and just gut instincts and actions influencing things in the outer environment? And in our personal lives, it can create imbalances, which is why with Libra time periods, it's good to do that status check with the lunar eclipse, full moons here especially. See if there's any areas that are out of balance, bring some of those back into balance. And then again, in our relationships or in relating with others, bring in a bit of that other orientation, right? That reciprocity, coming to mutual agreement, give and take, cooperation, things like this. So great to do a status check with that stuff in general. And again, perhaps there's some clearing that needs to happen to facilitate that. But the clearing stuff will probably be coming from more of the Virgo side of it. Like I said, the eclipse is quite close to Virgo. So there is perhaps some things that involves perfection orientation, wanting things to be a certain way, perhaps some patterns around repetitiveness or striving towards fixing or improving things, which is all great, of course. Virgo is all about incorporating more of that improvement-oriented side of ourselves. But again, with the South Node being in Virgo here, perhaps there are some things that are no longer serving us in that department. If it's too perfection-oriented, too improvement-oriented, too much in the details, too nitty-gritty, maybe in some of those relationships, this is some good energy that can be, again, just brought awareness to it. There's nothing we need to do with the South Node. I want to make this clear. When I say clearing with the South Node, it's really not doing. The South Node is a very yin energy, and so it's more about receiving the insights, being more conscious, more aware of perhaps some of these patterns, and just simply by being more aware of it and receiving that perspective, that insight, then it naturally clears. As we shine conscious light to the unconscious elements of life, things start to flow much more in a balanced way and constructive way, which we're never fully aware of everything, of course, unconsciously, but lunar eclipses are a great time to illuminate that a little bit more. Okay, but all in all, I would say it's safe to say that this is definitely a more Libra kind of eclipse, and that it's just a good time to do a bit of a status check on what can create more balance in our personal and interpersonal life. Again, especially because there's a lot of oppositions here to Mercury retrograde in this case, and also Uranus. So the Mercury retrograde, again, is a reminder that even though it is a fiery time of the year, with this Aries in particular, the retrograde in Aries suggests that perhaps there's some things to kind of rework with some of that proactivity and initiative, maybe to reconnect with ourselves in a different way here. Maybe learn about ourselves a little bit more through being proactive and taking initiative. Experimenting a little bit with that fiery side of ourselves, right? Having a plan A, B, C, and D, being flexible, adaptive, and willing to learn, is always a great way of working with the Mercury retrograde, in this case, particularly dealing with that fiery Aries energy. So balancing that out, and again, maybe in those relationships, maybe balancing some communication, some healthy receptivity, but Mercury can be maybe some of that communication glue that could be good to focus on as well, or again, experiment or rework with as well. Uranus being the outer planet here makes this perhaps quite a freeing eclipse, and the sun is going to go over Uranus here within a week. And so it is good now, and I would say for the coming weeks as well, to see how we can perhaps bring in some of that freedom-oriented side of that fiery side, but again, in conscious and balanced ways. So there might be a bit of an impulse with the opposition. Oppositions might tend towards extremes, so there might be a part of ourselves that wants to break free, make some sudden changes, or react for more freedom in our life. And that's all great to, again, listen to, be more mindful of and conscious of. But again, the opposition calls us to do that in a little more of a balanced way. And so anything that is constructively freedom-oriented, right? To listen to the true self, to certainly do what excites us, but again, in a way that's conscious and constructive, and that can help balance out some of this strong need to create some changes, to have more freedom, to innovate, to express our individual selves, which are often the case with Uranus aspects. Okay, so but that again, just really simply put, balances out. That's a lot of the fire energy, which again is all very much balanced out by more of that reciprocating energy in our relationships, more of a centered approach with Libra in terms of having more balance into life, bringing things back into balance, things like this. And this is all ruled by Venus. So I do want to also mention that, Venus being the ruler of Libra, she's in Taurus. And so perhaps how we can be going about striving towards balance and how we can be relating right now, perhaps can be in a bit more of a grounded way. I think it's great to be enjoying and connecting with ourselves, with life, with others in a way it's a little more grounded right now with Venus and Taurus. Grounding meaning to maybe, stop and smell the roses, to enjoy the simple life a little bit, maybe some nature, just a good meal or some sensual aromas, the beauty, sensual comforts, even luxuries, abundances in our life, practicing gratitude, especially of the material plane. This is all what we can be valuing and how we can be connecting in our life and relationships right now with that Venus there. But lastly, I do just want to emphasize that even though there is that opposition to Aries here with all this, there is a nice trine with the lunar eclipse up to Mars. Mars being a bit of that fiery energy, very much that fiery energy. And so there is support to do that. I want to make that clear, that Mars supporting the lunar eclipse in this trine perhaps might make it a bit easy to, again, take some of that initiative, be assertive, express our needs, maybe some confidence. But again, with the Mercury retrograde and all this balancing out in Aries, there still is a bit of that, perhaps imbalance or just reworking that we can be more mindful of to help have a more healthy expression of some of that energy there. Okay, and noticing too, just that one of the great areas to assert and be a bit proactive is maybe with some communications with Mars and Gemini, maybe with learning, gaining information, doing some practical things, mental things in our life. This is likely where a lot of that fiery energy is manifesting. All right, everyone, so that is the lunar eclipse in a nutshell. Put simply, it is a lunar eclipse in Libra, the scales, which is all about bringing things back into balance. And this is very much opposite the fiery Aries side, which is a side that's just, active and more self-oriented and, doing things more on a sort of gut reaction, which can create imbalances in life, which is why Libra will then balance it out. So good to, be aware of that fiery nature and specifically to perhaps, bring things back into balance. If there's anything out of balance or just to, further the balance and maybe bring in some conscious attention in relationships in terms of how our personal needs are in the context of others' needs and what is right and fair and mutual. Things like this is great. There is that support from the fiery side with Mars, which is fantastic to see. There's, of course, still good to be reflecting and reworking with the Mercury retrograde and a bit of that, finding a healthy way to express some of that individuality, some of that excitement, some of that need for freedom and change, which is Uranus as well. And again, just all in all connecting in a way it's a bit grounded right now in our personal and interpersonal lives. And some clearing perhaps, with this lunar eclipse being a south node one, and maybe in regards to some of that Virgo energy of any patterns or things that are no longer serving us in regards to work, service, improvement, perfection, things of the Virgo nature. All right, so everyone have a fantastic lunar eclipse. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click the like button if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're not yet signed up for MTZ Insiders, it is a free newsletter where you do get these videos released first before YouTube and extra content not normally released on YouTube. In fact, we do have some exciting announcements coming up here for MTZ Insiders. So if you're not yet signed up, definitely do so, especially if you normally watch these videos. But have a great week, everyone, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.